What's good, everybody? Welcome into Early Edge Live. One of our favorite hours of the entire week. We're counting down to Monday Night Football tonight, the last game in Week 4 of the National Football League. I, of course, am the coach, and this is your daily sports betting brand of record. Tonight, it is the Los Angeles Rams traveling on the road to the San Francisco 49ers. It's a 1.5-point spread. Total very low as well. So we got you covered top to bottom. Prop bets, best bets. We're going to talk VJM. We're talking donkey. We got a goose tonight. Anything you have, put it into the chat. Put the juice with it. We'll try to get to as many as we possibly can. Also, I need you to do me a solid tonight. If you want the goose and you want the donkey, you have to earn it. I need 500 likes. If you're already in the chat, take the chat down. Hit the like button for me. Put it right back up and just keep on talking. You know how much I love it when that chat is hopping. Now, you know on Monday nights, I bring my very best to the table. So let's bring in the stars of the show. Live from Nashville, Tennessee, a man who has been absolutely slaying it through the first 3 weeks of the season. Ed Square, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Coach. Good evening, Sia, Proppy. Good to see you guys. Can't wait for this game. There's a lot to talk about. Let's get to it, but I love this game tonight.
I do too, and it's interesting that you say we have a lot to get to. First and foremost, or secondly, he is the best-looking man all of the Early Edge universe, and apparently, Sia Buckets has now roped you in to social media trash talk, and I don't know how I feel about it. Are you comfortable with that?
I might be the best at social media trash talk, better than anything I do. So I am ready and willing. I just don't know whose side I'm on, Coach. Am I on your team? Am I on Buckets' team? Are there more than two teams? What's going on here?
Well, so far, Buckets is supporting Maestro, who's on the 49ers, and I think I saw your picks for tonight, so I'm guessing you and I are mortal enemies.
We are mortal enemies for the next 3.5 hours.
Yes, that is very true. Now, I still feel like there's a mutual respect between you and I, Sia. The same I can't say for the last member of our crew tonight. So I'm going to try and keep it professional because we do work for CBS. We do work for SportsLine. And he is live from parts unknown. And he very well may go back there when it's all said and done. Prop stars, good evening.
Good evening, Coach. I'm going to keep things as polite as possible. Cousin Sia, great to see you. Mikey M Squared, awesome to see you, Coach. It's okay to see you.
Now, before we get to our best bets, there's something I need to address. Mikey, do I or do I not always say on the show we have the best cappers in the world? Is that yes?
We do.
We do.
Yes,
and
you do say it, but it is a true statement. Yes.
True statement. You guys are the absolute very best. So if I come to you and I say I need you to find something for a certain team, you're probably good enough to find something. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I went to one of our cappers and I said, I feel like we don't have enough on the Rams side. And that person said to me, I just can't figure out Sean McVay. Now, would the very best say that? I would say no. So then I'll quote Twitter. I said, I'll make a pick on the Rams tonight. And this is what this person said. Don't worry, guys. Coach has gone rogue. I'm still doing everything in my power to appear on tonight's stream, and hell will freeze over before I let Coach give out a player prop. Would you like to apologize now or later?
I think this is a great time to bring up this very topic of conversation, Coach. You did say you have a prop for this game, Coach. Is that correct?
I'm getting ready to give it out. I'm going to go first.
Listen, Coach, I didn't want to have to pull this card, but I'm thinking I have to at this point. As hopefully you're aware, I know you're aware of this. Most SportsLine subscribers are aware. I recently signed a 3-year contract to remain with SportsLine. Part of that contract, which came directly from Noah Stanley. For those of you unaware of Noah is, he's the vision behind SportsLine. He's the boss. His names are on the checks that go to Coach and I. It was made abundantly clear to me that all player props that I have the ability to nix or kibosh any props that are put out by any cappers at SportsLine. And this is not a card that I ever expected to pull or wanted to pull, but I never thought Coach would come at us with a player prop. So I'm just warning you right now, Coach, you need to tread lightly.
Yeah, well, that is true for people who are not at the senior executive level, which I am. So that does not apply to me. So let's get into it, boys. Let's get into our best bets. Good try there, big boy. Good try. Now, I just told you, I'm going to go first. So I scoured all of the props world because that's what I do. I go into my lab and I do my work. And my work said that this man, 2 of the 3 games of this year, has gone, as one person likes to say, over this number. His A-dot is about 8.2 yards. And I think Ben Skowronek, because Cooper Kupp is going to have 3 people covering him tonight, at plus 161. Are you kidding me? I found a prop at plus 161. America, you're welcome. Now, prop stars, follow that. What do you got?
Coach, I've got one for you. I am fading Tyler Higbee under 17.5 yards for his longest reception. Unfortunately, I think this may have moved to 16.5 on most books. I would definitely double check. The last I checked, MGM had a lineup of 17 still. I had unfortunately passed at 16.5 yards. I'll explain why. So far this season, Higbee, he's been the Rams' number 2 pass catcher behind Cooper Kupp, second on the team in targets, receptions, yards. I don't think going into the season that Sean McVay and the rest of this coaching staff were going to be happy if they knew that 3 weeks into the season that Tyler Higbee would be this number 2 passing option, especially after you sign Allen Robinson to a big-time contract as well. He was expected to make a big impact. Has not been the case so far. So Higbee just really offers next to nothing as far as yards after the catch ability is concerned. He's facing a 49ers defense, number 1 in DVOA to opposing tight ends. Through 3 weeks of the season, Coach, they have given up exactly 10 targets, 5 receptions, and 23 yards to opposing tight ends. That is not a misprint. That is phenomenal. I think Travis Kelce went over that line in just the first drive last night versus the Tampa Bay Bucks. Last year, this same San Francisco defense surrendered only 580 yards to the tight end position, second fewest in the NFL. Higbee's A-dot, Coach, you just used that term, A-dot, 3.16 yards, which is very, very, very shallow, considering how good San Francisco is at covering tight ends, how quickly they swarm the football. As soon as someone catches the football, it's going to be tough, in my opinion, for Higbee to have more than a 17-yard reception in this game, since he does not draw a lot of targets down the field. That's why I really like this angle. I think this is the best way to fade Tyler Higbee tonight.
All kidding aside, I tell you guys all the time, I can joke all day and all night, but we educate and we entertain like nobody else. That is the kind of stuff you just can't find. You don't have labs like he does. So I'll be happy for Tyler Higbee to catch a 15-yard touchdown in the first quarter so I can start popping bottles. Now, the only person left in the club is the Maestro. And Sia, you're on the Maestro's side tonight, and I'm not sure if you watched the morning show, but I think you know what happened there. So I would tread very lightly with your pick, and I'm here to be all ears. What do you like, big boy?
Yeah, so I'm not going to be treading lightly. I'm going to be stomping my feet because I welcome all comers for a showdown. Believe me when I say that. Listen, the reality is we're catching San Francisco kind of in a really good spot. So we have the Rams, who are still coming off this mystique of the Rams of last year, which for the record should have lost in the NFC Championship to the Niners if Tart had just caught a very easy interception that he would have caught, I don't know, 95% of the time. You're riding sort of that Super Bowl wave, and you have the Niners coming out off national television against the Broncos of all team at Denver, looking really bad. Now, that was Jimmy G's first game. Let's not forget, Jimmy Garoppolo, not only was it his first game as a starter, but he hasn't exactly been practicing with this team all offseason. He was sort of off to the side. So he's finally sort of getting used to, going into his bag of old tricks, if you will, and starting to get used to how he plays with all of these players. So I really like the spot for the Niners. But outside of that, I really like what the 49ers defensive line is going to be able to do against Matt Stafford. Stafford has not been great at all. He's got 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. It's not a good ratio regardless. And I just think they're going to put enough pressure on him. I don't think the Rams are going to be able to establish the run. We have Javon Kinlaw is out, but looks like Armstead is in. So on defense, they're relatively healthy. Conversely, for the Rams, their secondary is very banged up. And their Brandon Allen, or their offensive lineman, I'm trying to remember his first name, he's going to be out for this game. So they're actually, even though Trent Williams is out for the 49ers, they're actually in some bad shape when it comes to injuries. Oh, and by the way, McVay versus Shanahan. Last week, you remember, Coach, when we were doing the 12 o'clock Sunday show before all the games kicked off, I mentioned Sean McVay and Cliff Kingsbury and how that matchup is just such a bad matchup for Kingsbury, and there's evidence of that. Same here. Shanahan dominates McVay. He's just probably a better coach overall. 2 great coaches, but Shanahan owns McVay, and they are in a really good spot this week.
I feel like the longer you talk, the more you're trying to convince yourself that the 49ers are the play tonight. That's how I feel. Mikey, don't you feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all guilty of that though at some point. But yeah, I got a little bit of those vibes, but I can't
Oh.
say that I disagree. It's close. I have no play on the game, but it's close.
Okay. Now, you've already put yourself on Front Street here, Sia. So everybody in the chat knows it's not even a matter of do we hit the music. Me and Maestro doubled it. So if you'd like to double it, I'm more than happy to do that.
2 times. Oh, yeah. Let's go. 100%.
Oh,
100%.
Jeweler. If you don't mind, Jeweler, please.
It's gonna be a showdown.
So tonight, when I'm sitting down to dinner in Los Angeles with the big true bosses and not Noah Stanley in the chat that's saying applies to Coach too, but the real bosses, when I sit down with them at dinner tonight, I'm actually going to pay for dinner. And I'm going to say thanks to Sia and thanks to the Maestro. Oh, it's going to be glorious. Now, Mikey, I know while we were doing our little business, you have found a play that you love tonight. Would you like to give it out right now, please?
Yes, I do have a play in the game. We're going to go with Deebo Samuel over 56.5 receiving yards in this game. Waiting as long as possible here. I wanted to see how the market reacted as the game's trending down on the total points. This is the number I think we're going to be stuck with. So I like it at 56.5. I have this number at 66 in the simulations here. I like it a lot. One thing that we have to think about here with Deebo is we haven't really seen a spike game this year. And that's for good reason. The reason we haven't seen it is they played in a monsoon on the road against a team that wants to run the football in the Chicago Bears. Another game that they played Seattle. They crushed them. There's no reason for them to keep the foot on the pedal there with a team that can find success on the ground. And then against Denver, Jimmy G's first real game in there. Nothing went well for them, really. He still had 73 yards in that game. He has what Alex likes to call yak ability big time, especially in this particular matchup. He's going to have 30-plus yards after the catch tonight. So I do love Deebo Samuel, 56.5 yards. Quickly, I'm not going to use the 2019 year because I don't think Deebo Samuel was Deebo Samuel in 2019. But in 2020, 2021, and then 2022, he has played the Rams 4 times. The lowest yardage total he's ever had is 66. He has a game of 95, a game of 97, a game of 133, and a game of 66. And by the way, the 66 was the oldest game. That was back in October of 2020.
All right,
so we're
so
going
they're saying and the longer you talk, the less good I feel about my play, to be honest with you. So in the chat, what would you play it up to? They're asking.
58.5. And as far as it being long gone, I bet it less than 3 minutes ago at 56.5. It is still up at MGM and DraftKings there. It's at 57.5 on FanDuel. One more note on this, because it's going to answer a question on George Kittle in the chat. I don't think we see a ton of George Kittle in the passing game tonight, personally. Trent Williams, left tackle, out for San Francisco. Knowing that Jimmy G is in there, they're going to look to protect him because of the situation with Trey Lance right now as well. In the past, we've seen Kittle participate a lot more in blocking than some of the route running in these type of situations. I expect that a little bit tonight. So yeah, that's where we're going. I'm not touching Kittle's props on the over or the under, but I do think it's going to be Deebo out of necessity.
Very good. Those are the type of nuggets. I'm telling you, I learned so much, and I know all of you guys do. Those are things you can't factor in. You watch the game, you're like, well, Mikey told me just like that. Mikey said that was going to happen because we study. They study. Now, many of you, thank you to the chat, are proving Mike's point that it's still at 56.5 at MGM, and everybody is hammering it there. So thank you very much. Now, Mikey, quick question for you again from the chat, and then I'll get the other two involved too. First half under 20.5. We believe tonight points could be at a premium. How are you attacking the total in your model?
So I'm not. It's really, really close. It's not the significant edge we had last night where we liked the over, but I actually lean over in this game, believe it or not. The simulation number's up to 45.2 for me. If you're going to play the total, make sure you get it under 42. So go over anything at 41, 41.5. Personally, I'm going to elect to wait and live bet it, hoping that we don't see points on the first drive from either team. that's when I think we start to get to a really, really good number. But I think that there are too many players in this game that have big playability. I know that they don't necessarily scheme it that way defensively, but Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel can get loose. The defenses are so good with the pass rush. I think that this game ends up going over ultimately 24-20 type game, which definitely gets us there. So I'm not touching the first half. If you made me play it right now, I would lean towards the under in the first half, but still the over for the game.
All right. That's a tough thing to do unless you believe in the numbers, ladies and gentlemen. It's a tough thing to do, but sometimes it's the right thing to do. Alex, let me come to you. Jeff Wilson. His numbers are always so low when it comes to receiving. Everybody loves to look at them, but what do you to say to those people who want to jump on Jeff Wilson? Longest reception over 8.5 yards at -109.
Yeah, I'm staying away from Jeff Wilson receiving props. To me, these are just very game script dependent. This guy's not really utilized in the passing game very much. When we look at running back receiving props, they're often going to be the fourth, fifth progression for a quarterback to check down to. So they're just rarely designed plays for the running back to get the football. So I think in a scenario where the 49ers are potentially trailing, he may get a target or two, but just not enough floor for me to bet a Jeff Wilson receiving prop. So not something I'm looking to invest in.
All right, very, very good. All right, we're at 400 likes. I need at least another 100, and we have about 10 minutes to do it. We're going to do the donkey and the goose at the top of the hour. Then, of course, the VJM. Will somebody get into the club tonight? Last night, it was Travis Kelce who scored the first score of the game. Now, in the chat, I'm coming to you, Sia. Robert says, I'm not fading a motivated Sia. Coach may have gone one-on-one with the great one, but Sia is a different beast. That's what he says. Now, let's talk quarterbacks because Jimmy G's now the guy. Trey Lance is out. Matthew Stafford, how bad is the elbow? Numbers haven't been great. So when we look at the different numbers, how do you think the quarterbacks, because as we showed our best bets, of course, Maestro is on Matthew Stafford over a half an interception tonight. So he thinks he'll throw at least one. How do you think the quarterbacks play tonight?
Oh, I love that play, Matt Stafford turning the ball over. Just to be clear, it is 4 touchdowns this year versus 5 interceptions through 3 games. So and we know he's a guy that's prone to throwing the interception. He's a gunslinger. You know, first of all, if we look at the yardage, we've got Jimmy Garoppolo at 230.5. We got Matthew Stafford at 248.5. I don't really like any of those. I will say this though. It looks like I think you can expose the Rams through the air more than you can with the run. So I think the game plan, to the extent Jimmy G is serviceable at all, I think the game plan is to 3-step drop, short area passes. I think the reception totals could be significant for some of these guys, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, maybe even George Kittle, as opposed to the yardage. As far as Matt Stafford, I mean, one thing he's not doing this year is he's not throwing the ball down the field. Another reason I probably like reception props for the Rams receivers rather than yardage props. And I think part of the reason he's not throwing it down the field, I mean, I think part of it is the elbow injury, maybe. But also, let's not forget, I mentioned Brian Allen being injured, and I mentioned, of course, the secondary issues, but Van Jefferson isn't back either. And you don't have Odell Beckham. You don't have any field stretchers. So at the end of the day, if you don't have any field stretchers, you're probably you're throwing into like a compressed route tree, if you will, because these guys are running shorter routes. So I just think Stafford completions I kind of like. I don't really like his yardage. I think last time I saw his completions, I think it was 23.5. I kind of like I kind of like the over there, but it's not something I'm willing to make a play. It's not something I'm willing to bet on, but I'm staying away from the yardage totals.
The yardage right now is 250.5 for Stafford. Jimmy G is at 223.5. I'm a little offended, to be honest with you, Sia. Did you not see my Ben Skowronek pick? You saying he can't stretch the defense?
Blazing 4.75 40. Yeah,
he's gonna be. We'll see
the burner.
That's the thing. I mean, Skowronek might have a day. To be honest with you, I don't mind your pick.
That pick is right up there when Coach went Jacoby Myers for the VJM back when Jacoby Myers had not scored a touchdown in his career.
Ouch!
Wait, you did the same thing this week. You picked a guy that had never scored a touchdown all year. You did that,
Coach career.
Oh, I guess I did do that. Yes. I did do that. Hey, sometimes you got to take a flyer, baby. Sometimes you got to take a flyer. All right, I got one for you, Alex, but I'm coming to Mikey first. Running backs for the Rams, their totals are low. This is a chat question. I mean low. In fact, Henderson, 22.5. Akers, 42.5. The books don't think there's going to be a lot of rushing room tonight. What do you say, Mikey?
Yeah, I don't expect a lot of rushing room either. The number on like Henderson is low enough that I'm not going to touch it because there's always an injury situation where he's just going to get there through sheer volume. So they're kind of fragile. But I as low as those numbers are, I actually don't have edges on the overs on either player.
Wow.
And it really comes down to some of the game script you're expecting, though, right? So, do you expect the Rams to win the game? If you expect the Rams to win the game and win it comfortably, then you're certainly not taking the under here. If you expect them to be in a real dogfight and be trailing like I do at some point, I can't get to either of these numbers. I know they're incredibly low. You're probably going to feel really dumb when Henderson has 3 carries for 22 yards and it cashes, but I'm not going to touch it because there is not much room to run against this defense, and I just expect a ridiculous amount of Cooper Kupp tonight, and I think that's what we'll see.
And by the way, one of our new, incredibly smart, you guys saw me on social media, between me and Mikey, we've been the only geniuses at the early edge until our newest member, Jason Spector, that we added today. He's on Cooper Kupp because the numbers say over 8.5. Don't take offense, Alex. Do not take offense, Sia. It's okay if me and Mikey are in Mensa, and so is he. So it's okay. We're all still a team. Still a team.
Coach, one more on the rushing prop there.
Yeah.
We had the Rams pulled up there. The only one that I like of the 3 rushing props there is actually Stafford's over 2.5. That is the one I would play first out of all 3 of those. I just think out of necessity here, they're going to be throwing the football. He's going to have to scramble to keep a drive alive at some point. And they're probably still maybe not going to win the game. So you're not looking at a kneel down at the end. So it's out of all 3, as insane as it sounds, because I usually caution against this situation, Stafford is the one I like the most if you're determined to play an over.
I have never felt like I'm more on an island than I am right here, right now, tonight. All right. Now, Alex, I know you're on Higbee under his longest reception, but chat question from Urban. Over 4.5 catches for Higbee tonight. And before you answer that, the boss has just texted me. We're at over 1,100 people watching. We have a huge audience tonight. If we get to 550, we need the goose. Then if we get to 700, the jeweler's been holding back just a couple of Madden codes that, of course, I provided because I'm in Madden. You're welcome, America. But we're going to drop a couple of those into the chat. We have a couple left if we get to 700 likes. You only have to do it once, over 1,100. Now, Alex, back to the show. Higbee, over 4.5.
I actually don't mind this, even though I am fading his longest reception line. I do think Higbee's going to continue just out of necessity, kind of serving or functioning as that second guy behind Cooper Kupp. This Rams offense has not been good. Mike mentioned it earlier. There's still a mystique about them because they won the Super Bowl last year, because of Sean McVay, because of how good they were offensively. I just wanted to give you some offensive numbers so far this season. 21st in EPA per play, 21st in pass EPA per play, 19th in rush EPA per play, 25th in explosive rush percentage, 15th in pass percentage, 15th in points per game. Meanwhile, San Francisco's defense has been lights out. 4th in EPA, 5th in pass EPA, 9th in explosive pass percentage, 9th in rush EPA, 7th in explosive rush percentage, 6th in pass percentage, 2nd in pass rate over expectation, 2nd in pressure percentage, 3rd in points per game allowed, 2nd in pass success percentage. So this is an elite defense facing an offense that has really, really struggled. They do not have any field stretchers. I think that is abundantly clear when Tyler Higbee is your second option and he's second on the team in targets. I do not think that is something that this team expected, especially when you add Allen Robinson. Unfortunately, he looks shot. I know it takes time to develop chemistry with a quarterback, but it's not really happening. I just don't think Allen Robinson is really able to separate very much. He's more of a possession-based receiver at this point in time. Just not the offensive weapons that we saw. Stafford doesn't appear to be the same Stafford he was last year. And just outside of Cooper Kupp, there's just not a lot of guys who can make a lot of plays. So I think this Rams offense is going to continue to really struggle. And I think the San Francisco defense is elite, and it's going to be very hard to score against them.
As a brand, we were on Allen Robinson under 39.5 to Alex's point. And see, let me come to you. We keep talking about Cooper Kupp. Mikey brought him up. Alex brought him up. His longest reception is 26.5. We know at some point of every single game, he gets loose going across the middle and then takes it up the field. What do you think Cooper Kupp will do tonight across the board?
It's really interesting because in the playoffs last year against the Niners, he had a big play just straight up busted coverage at the end of the game, which allowed the Rams to end up taking the lead in that one. That could happen again, but I do think they're going to be able to keep things underneath them. Again, I think that Van Jefferson injury, the lack of Odell Beckham, the lack of a field stretcher, I think that keeps things kind of on the shorter side. I wouldn't go with his longest reception. I mean, I don't, with that said, I don't hate the 94.5 yards just from a pure volume standpoint. I think he could absolutely get 2 to 3, 15 to 20 yard receptions, and then just with volume hit that number. So at this point, I would be on the unders with Cooper Kupp, but I would, if I was going to consider any over, it would be the over in his passing yards.
Okay. Spectre would have issues with you right now, although I don't know if he is confident enough to challenge you like the rest of the crew is, but he's on over 8.5 for Cooper Kupp. All right, Mikey, let me come back to you because we're on Brandon Ayuk. Can we throw up the best bets, Jeweler, real quick? We're on Brandon Ayuk tonight. Over, I think it's 48. Yeah, over 48.5 receiving yards. Thank you, Jeweler. Now, his longest reception in the chat, the question was, I think, 17.5. I don't have that. But, Mikey, we're talking Ayuk. Do we like him tonight? Somebody's got to catch these balls. Somebody's got to get these yards.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's not a play for me because I haven't made the play. The longest reception, I was going to say, if you had 17.5, I would have told you to play it. Looks like it's 21.5 over here. Pretty strong difference between those two. I like Ayuk a little bit. This is one that I've done in the past, and I'm probably going to end up doing tonight. I'm not going to play it pregame. Especially not at 133 on the juice on it here. I think this number, you missed the opportunity, right? So when Larry played it at 48.5, that's where you needed to play it. If you're still interested in playing it, I would potentially watch live betting, look for either a situation where he's not involved in the first drive and they fall behind, things like that, and let this number come down a little bit. This is one number. It's at a really fragile point when it's around 48 to 55 yards. If they are non-existent in the first drive, which eats up 7 minutes of the game, you start to see these numbers drop into the high 30s very, very, very quickly, which is much closer to where his longest reception number is in general. So what we're looking for in those situations are a team that didn't score necessarily. The other team is potentially scored, so we're looking at either neutral game or a trailing game script. That's when you can start to look to live bet it. That's how I'm going to attack Ayuk because personally I believe it's going to be a lot of Deebo Samuel tonight.
I encourage all of you to listen to the information because when you get into the game, all of a sudden it starts moving very, very fast. Mikey is an absolute expert on live betting. So listen to the advice because it can be very, very dicey and it's difficult to do. All right, we've crossed the top of the hour. For those of you just coming into the show, welcome. This is the Early Edge. You don't need to go anywhere else. We are powered, as always, by the almighty SportsLine. I am joined, as always, by Sia, Prop Stars, M Squared, of course, Jeweler on the ones and the twos. Those are our best bets for the night. We've been getting out over the course of the last 3 days. I encourage you to watch this show live because my guys move the numbers. It's just fact. But you've come at the right time. We got 3 more big things to do. We got to do the donkey. We've already passed, so we're going to do the goose. If we get to 700, only 49 more likes. We'll drop a couple of Madden codes into the chat. First come, first serve. So, Mike, this is an extensive donkey tonight. So I'm going to step back. Please, sir, the floor is yours.
Yeah, it's the Mega Donk, Coach. And look, I hope you're all SportsLine members because you needed to get this a little earlier to put it in. But you know what? You'll learn, you'll go subscribe, and you'll get it early. We're going with this one. It's a 100% boost on DraftKings tonight. That's why I've played it where I have. Plus 1,700 if you don't have that option. 49ers, alternate spread, plus 8.5. Rams, plus 11.5. Over 32.5. Under 52.5 in the game. Matthew Stafford, over 199. Under 299. And then a few unders here. Jeff Wilson, under 84.5 rushing yards. Allen Robinson, want to fade him as much as possible. Under 64.5 receiving yards. Ben Skoranek, under 54.5 receiving yards. Cooper Kupp, over 79.5. Deebo, over 44.5. And then Tyler Higbee, over 29.5 in this game. We are essentially playing on market efficiencies. Primetime NFL games in division like this are the most efficient markets in all of sports. We're going to bank on the market being correct on this game, and we're going to cash this parlay tonight.
And before I get any tweets, this is fun, but we hit these a lot. Now, maybe not 12 legs. This is a lot of fun, but we've hit plus 800, plus 600, plus 500 just in the last 2 weeks. All right, we've gone past the 550 mark. So, Alex, you're up next. Give me the goose.
We hit the goose last night, Coach. Just want to remind everybody of that. We're going back to back with the goose. This is kind of like a baby donkey right here compared to Mike. Again, we don't consult about these, but we overlap on quite a few legs, which is music to my ears. First up, we've got Deebo Samuel, anytime touchdown. Mike's talked about him a lot tonight. I agree. I think this is a potential spike game for him. I think he's got a great shot of getting in the end zone. Then we've got Matt Stafford under 299.5 passing yards. Love fading Allen Robinson like Mike, under 64.5 receiving yards. Tyler Higbee under 69.5 receiving yards. The 49ers to score over 13.5 points. The Rams to score less than 28 points. And finally, Jeff Wilson under 84.5 rushing yards, also on Mike's. I find that for these same game parlays, a really good way to construct them is around a player that you like to score an anytime touchdown. You can usually get plus odds on those and then build around from there with a bunch of high percentage alt lines. You can usually do 5-6 legs, get odds in this neighborhood. So yeah, this is how I like to build these same game parlays with a guy who I really like to score an anytime touchdown.
I hate to say that that's just not going to hit tonight. It's just not going to hit. The Rams 28-20, I think will be the final. Sorry, America. That's the way it goes. All right, now, how close are we? We need 20, according to Sinful Saint. We need 20 to get to 700 and drop a couple of codes into the chat. First come, first serve. But we got to do the VJM. So far this year, through 3 weeks, we only have one person enter the club, and that's the Maestro. We've got to change that tonight. Now, true story, Mondays are usually Sia's day. That's usually when he is cashed, on Mondays. Mikey's more of a Sunday night guy. I'll take any night. But this is Mikey's thing. This is the VJM. If you're brand new, who do you think is going to score the first touchdown of the game? It's got to be plus 1,000 or higher to make it fun. Put it into the chat, and if you have the same one as one of my cappers, then you're going to walk in arm in arm, popping bottles, bragging on social media. It means something. Mikey, you're up first.
All right, Coach. We're going to go with my good pal, Ray McLeod here, because someone said we had a dumb pick yesterday. I'm going to give you a dumb pick tonight because it's plus 6,600. Nobody that is playing over 20% of offensive snaps, that is a pass catcher, actual wide receiver, should be at plus 6,600 where he is on MGM tonight. Let's hope he's on the field. I like this spot. Hopefully George Kittle is in there blocking to help out that left tackle situation. Give me Ray McLeod, who earned a target and a catch last week. And again, playing 22 to 24%.
I can just hear Eli Manning going, who is Ray McLeod? As he scores into the end zone on ESPN2. Oh, true story. I watch that one more than I watch Buck and Aikman. I just do. All right. Now, Sia, this is your night. How many times have you cashed? 3 last year? 3?
Only 3. Just the record.
Oh,
I know it's a record. I'm at all of this many. Damn it! All right, Sia, you're the legend. You're up.
I couldn't help but notice that, last night on national television, we got a chance to see Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. I mentioned bag of tricks earlier in the show. Just pull out all the stops, the direct snap to Noah Gray, like all of it with the distraction from Mahomes. It was really kind of brilliant. And I'm thinking Kyle Shanahan is watching that game, thinking to himself, like, hold my headset. I got one better for you. And the hold my headset moment is going to be the first touchdown when the pride of Harvard, or at least one of the 2 prides of Harvard, gets in the end zone on the first touchdown, maybe on a pass play, maybe on a fullback, just right up the middle. But I do want to point out that my guy, Kyle Juszczyk, who is 40-1 and even longer in some places, he has a passing prop. And it's 7.5 yards. And I wouldn't be surprised if that 7.5 yards gets gobbled up on the Niners' first touchdown possession. Give me Kyle Juszczyk at 40-1.
I hate when I can't talk trash. I just hate it. But I got to leave it there. He's a 3-time champ. Now, I go from a 3-time champ to a 0-time champ because I don't count the time you got in using somebody else's pick. So, Alex, what do you got tonight, big boy?
I don't count it either, Coach, just to clarify. And while Cousin Sia and Mikey are, battling over these great long shots, I'm just going as chalk as it gets until I get in. I'll get cute and fancy like they do once I get into the club. That's why we're going Brandon Ayuk, plus 1,000, leads the team in air yards, leads the team in average depth of target, receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, second on targets, and has been really good considering this is just a run-heavy San Francisco offense and the QB play he's dealt with. He's had a really good season, in my opinion. Also, I want to offer up, if we hit this so you guys can play along at home, I will give 10% if we cash this ticket of the winnings to a SportsLine subscriber as well.
You guys are going to get $10 and you can go to Starbucks. Nicely done, Alex. Nicely done. All right, now I'm going to go Tyler Higbee, and many in the chat are agreeing with me because you're smart. You get it. You understand that I'm a savant. And sometimes you just got to go with the guy that Matthew Stafford is going to be relying on tonight. Tonight, I had a little birdie tell me that in the meetings this week, Stafford said, get this guy more involved. I agree. Get him more involved in the end zone at plus 1,200. So we've done Mikey. We've done Alex. We've done Sia. We've done myself. AB's in the chat. He's busy. Jake the Snake's on Malcolm Brown. Full disclosure, Jake tried to get like all of our picks today. Jeweler. Now, show your face. Now, I know that you are very, very, very skittish right now, and you're ready to put your reputation on the line and your beautiful cats. What are you going to do with your career at the early edge and the VJM?
Well, I don't know, Coach. I am a famously 0-time VJM member of the club, so I want a way to ride with you tonight, and I'm going to go with Ben Skronik. Skronik. I can't say the last name. I don't care at this point. I was gonna say Jawan Jennings, but I see that you're out on the island over there, and Alex is throwing shade at you. So I just want a way to ride with you because. Full disclosure, I just bet the 49ers as well, minus the 2. But
Oh, no.
Here's what's going to happen. Just because you took another dig at me, if you don't hit the VJM tonight, you no longer produce the early edge. Fair?
Ooh,
You want to take shots at me? Fair?
fair.
Career on the line.
Wow.
And you think I'm kidding? If he doesn't hit tonight, see if Keeler's around next week. Test me. Alex, test me.
I'm here
All
for
right.
it.
All right.
This is high stakes. People say like, do we actually put our money where our mouths is?
We're putting careers where our mouths are.
We're putting careers. You know, this is income. How do you think we feed this cat? You know, it's certainly not off of gambling winnings.
I did not know you were going to say your cat. Okay. All right. We're down to 4 minutes till the start of the game. We're not going to redo the donkey. We're not going to do that. But let's throw our best bets up there. And while we have them up there, we'll do our closing because I know people still want to get them in. So they'll throw best bets up there. Jeweler's career is on the line very quickly. You know, I like to end every single show with asking my guys what they're most looking forward to in tonight. So maybe you can look forward to and help yourself moving forward. Mikey, start us off.
Deebo Samuel, I'm looking forward to him having a big night tonight. We're going over 56.5 yards. Hasn't had the real spike game yet. Hasn't really needed to. He's going to need to tonight, and he's going to get it done. My simulation number, again, is 66 yards on this one. Absolutely love it.
Alex, talk to me.
My best bet's Tyler Higbee, under 17.5 yards for his longest reception. As far as this game is concerned, I'm really interested to see this 49ers defense, which has been elite so far this season, against a Rams offense that has really struggled. I think that's going to continue tonight as well.
All right. Thank you, boys, very much. I certainly do appreciate it. So that's all the time. I'm sorry, see ya. Go ahead, sir.
Good news, bad news, Coach. The good news is when you lose this showdown to me, I'm not going to make you Venmo me right away because you're going to be with the bosses. I don't want you to have to excuse yourself from that. So go ahead and pay me after the dinner. But the good news, the really good news, of course, is that the Niners are at Carolina next week playing Baker Mayfield. They're only 4.5-point favorites. Yeah, it's a road game, but it's Baker Mayfield. Probably going to be the PJ Walker show soon. So go ahead and take those losses and put them on the Niners next week. Even Steven, we're good to go.
Savage.
You're welcome.
Give me my one shot. I have nothing else to say. There's only one thing left to do. And damn it, Matthew Stafford, if you've never done anything for somebody before, do this for me tonight. It's me against the early edge world. It's okay. I got big shoulders. I spent all day at the gym. Now, there's only one thing left to do, and I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these tickets straight, except for the 49ers, to the pay window. For my entire crew, damn it, I love them all. We have so much damn fun. See ya. The best looking man in all the early edge universe. Prop stars, the best prop better in all the early edge universe. M squared, a resident genius with me. And of course, the jeweler who has so much confidence in Ben, what's his name, that he's putting his CBS career on the line tonight. That takes cojones. And you only see that at the early edge. Good luck.